All right, folks, welcome to the best practice of credibility, our webinar series about search engine optimization. A little bit about me. My name is Spencer Bard. I'm the client experience specialist here at Keystone Click, and today I'm joined by Nicole. Nicole, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Nicole Morton. I'm an account manager here at Keystone Click, and I'm the newest member of the team and really excited to help Spencer talk to you about credibility in your website.
Yep, for sure. And a little bit about Keystone Click before we get into the meats and bones of the presentation. Keystone Click is a strategic digital marketing firm. We really specialize in building a strategy that helps our clients achieve their online goals. We also do website development, and really it's about identifying, getting to know their customers, getting to know their competition, and really building a strategy that's going to achieve their digital goals. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Nicole to get us into the presentation.
Thanks. So we're going to cover in this presentation what is credibility and why it's important. We're going to talk about credibility in the context of the customer journey, and then specific action steps that you can take to boost your SEO with credibility. We're going to talk about what Google rewards, how you establish quality links, the importance of case studies, reviews, and testimonials. We're going to talk about reviews specifically in regards to Google My Business and how that's changing, and then the importance of social sharing and social influence. So Spencer, what is credibility and why is it important?
Exactly. And first, I want the people in the audience to take a quick second to think about what credibility means to you, not only from a business perspective, but just from the personal perspective. What does something being credible really mean to you? So let's get into it. So credibility, what it is and why it's important. So to be credible really means that your business is believable, reliable, and plausible. And everyone's heard the old adage, people buy from businesses they know, like, and trust. So it's really crucial to establish that expertise across every aspect of the customer journey and to really maintain that business, your business credibility, whether it be through consistency, open and honest communications, keeping your promises, just really ensuring that at every stage you're establishing and maintaining your credibility. So a bit about the customer journey, we like to really separate it into 5 main stages of the customer journey: awareness, consideration, action, experience, and advocacy. So let's talk a bit about how credibility plays into each stage before we focus on it from more of a SEO perspective. So in the awareness stage, that is essentially your client's first touch base with you. They're aware that you exist. They know that you're out there. They know that you might be able to help them with a problem that they're facing. So here are some areas where some business people might run into your business at this stage. It could be Google My Business, which we'll get into. It could be they run into your website, any social media or advertisements, or any blogs. Really from there, you want to take them from that awareness to the consideration. So you have to validate their claims and validate that you are the solution for your problem. So this can be proof that your methodology exists, show proof of your work, and really helping them to that next stage. So some ways you can establish credibility during the consideration phase would be those online reviews, which we also will get into, testimonials, once again, case studies and product videos. And all of that really is leading towards the action. So at the action stage, that's where they've done their due diligence. You've established that credibility in those first 2 stages. And that's where you want to have them take that action, whether it be buying the product or service, signing up for an offering, things of that nature. And that leads them to the experience. So after action, everything comes down to the experience you're providing your business. So that great communication, that great customer service, that's going to build your credibility throughout those stages. And really the end goal is to create advocates of your customers. So through providing credibility throughout those first 4 stages, it will turn people into advocates of your brand. It'll lead them to writing reviews. It'll lead them to providing word of mouth testimonials, referrals, things of that nature. So establishing credibility is super important throughout every stage. And I'm going to pass it over to Nicole to talk a bit about the Google side of credibility.
Mhm. So Google works in mysterious ways. And with dozens of updates and refinements happening every year, it's really hard to know how to optimize your site ranking. But fortunately, we can look back over the last few seismic shifts in SERP and analyze for trends. So if you just will indulge my nerds for just a minute. Back in 2017, the Fred update found Google penalizing those sites that use display ads and monetization widgets to instead of providing quality content. So do you remember when you were to go look up a recipe and you would just scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll to get to the ingredients list? So that's what we're talking about there. Then next in 2018, the Medic update boosts the ranking of sites, giving high quality content on advice on major life issues. So they call it, your money or your life site. So medicine, healthcare, financials. And they wanted to prioritize quality content from reliable sources. And then with the BERT update in 2019, Google started incorporating natural language processing into the search function to better understand the context of your query. So instead of just relying on the few keywords like pizza places near me, so instead of giving you like pizza places and it would give you from anywhere or restaurants near me that weren't pizza, it started to better understand the intent of what your Google search was and what you typed in to give you better quality results. And then with the EAT update in 2020, EAT is expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. So now Google is committed to prioritizing quality content that demonstrates those three terms.
Yeah, definitely. I think that last update really speaks to what we're talking about today, because that experience, authority, and trustworthiness, those are all aspects of credibility, which is why we harp on it so much.
Right. So having looked back, now we can see what the through line is through all of those updates. Every significant algorithm or core update puts greater and greater significance on quality content published consistently over time. But it doesn't stop with just publishing. You have to give people a way to find your content, like with links. So Spencer's going to talk to us a little bit about how to establish quality links for your content.
Yes, I am. So let's talk about offsite links. So these are essentially other sites, other forums that might link back to your site. So the big thing for offsite links is they need to be of value. So if your site is publishing high value content, it's more likely that trusted sites will backlink to your site. And those links from trusted sites are going to have a higher impact on your site than lower trusted sites. And I know on the graphic on the right, you can really tell the true impact of credibility when it comes to backlinks. So Google will look at how many backlinks the site has, and that will play a massive role in where they're ranking your site. As you can see, the sites that Google's going to be ranking towards the top are going to be those sites that have a lot of backlinks from trusted sources. Some other things to note is that backlinks are one of Google's top 3 ranking factors, and another is content, as Nicole had alluded to. It's really about, and those two play hand in hand. It's about publishing those that quality content all the time. So you want to avoid those toxic links, which is kind of what I was getting back to, from not very trusted sites. So want to ensure that you're not being linked to from any untrustworthy sites, and that you're always being linked to from trustworthy sources. So you want them to be editorial edited, as I mentioned before, come from those relevant, authoritative sources, those trustworthy sites, as well as you don't want to be paying for backlinks. You want them to be all organic and to truly experience the benefits of them. So let's get into a few strategies that you can use to establish some backlinks. So using outbound links to form partnerships. I know that in a lot of blog writing for different topics, you're going to do a little bit of research before time. So if you ever link a certain study, for instance, or a survey, add a link back to the site where your information comes from. And then maybe shoot them an email after the fact saying, I really enjoyed your survey. It was really beneficial in writing this blog. Would you be able to link to our blog? Just looking to form those relationships. And the more outbound links you provide to trustworthy sites, the more likely it is that they'll return that for some form of reciprocity. Guest blogging is another great way to form backlinks. everyone's looking for more content on their website, especially in any thought leadership forums, things of that nature. So showcasing your thought leadership by using your know-how and applying it to a different website is another great way, and they'll always link back for you. Another great way is podcast interviews. Podcasts are insane right now. There are so many podcasts for every single industry. Not even the massive podcasts you think of, the ones that are always being suggested when you're streaming service, but some of these smaller, more niche podcasts, all it takes is a Google search to find some of these. And the thing about these podcasts is the interviewers are always looking for new people to interview, find new ideas, new methodologies, new insights. And it's really, a great place to showcase your expertise, but also in the show notes, make sure you provide them with your contact information, the link back to your site, and they will add that to the show notes. So that's just another way you can start receiving some of those backlinks. Another way is participating in online forums, whether it be in industry-related online forums or Facebook, LinkedIn groups. Really, anytime you can participate online, add a link to, if someone asks a question, add a link to a blog or add a link back to your site in a spot that shows your answer to the question. That's just another way to apply those. Another way, which we'll get into, is adding social media, adding links to your website and all social media posts. Not only does it help people along the customer journey, but it's another place that people can get to your website. It's another link leading back to your website. Press releases, well, if you have any news to share, you can submit press releases to press release sites, any news, announcements, events. Those are also great spots to do. And then last but not least, as we saw from what Nicole was saying, the core of all this is creating high value content. You're not going to achieve any of these other backlink benefits unless you're providing content that is valuable, that answers people's questions, and really that is just crucial to whatever problem people are searching for. A fun little tool that you can use to check the current state of your backlinks is SEMrush. So SEMrush will give you a whole bunch of data on the state of your backlinks, whether it be through the examples I have in those images in terms of how many domains you have referring to, so how many different websites are actually referring to you, or just the categories, what kinds of websites are referring to you. So I've got that example. This is actually an example from Keystone Click. So business and industrial is our biggest referring domains. So those are just two samples of data they provide, but I highly recommend using that when in doubt. Moving on to testimonials and case studies. So something fun about testimonials is that people tend to trust those even more than just a product or service description. It's almost like that extra boost of credibility, that it's almost like a referral, that vote of trust. And it shows you that you have visitors who are paying for your service and that you're not new in your industry. It's kind of just you showing Google, hey, I'm real. We do this and we do it well. So how does it benefit your SEO? It once again showcases your expertise, boosts credibility, whether it be through the eyes of Google or from the customer journey perspective. And it also improves your domain authority, which is essentially Google looking at your website and identifying that you are legit and you can solve the problem that these people are looking for. Something that a good testimonial should do is it should, one, explain the problem that the client was facing, show how you helped solve that problem, explain the fears that the client had, show how you alleviate those fears, and give some insight on what it feels like to be working with you. Showcase your great client experience, and then give a call to action. And these will all kind of play into the case studies as well, which we'll get into the next slide. But here's some best practices for getting testimonials. So first things first, after you finish a project with a client, don't just go outright ask for a testimonial. That's going to intimidate people. They're not really going to know what to say. They say, I've never given a testimonial. What do I say? I have no idea. Ask for feedback instead. So one way is you can do that is sending a questionnaire to get those ideas of how the project went, what they thought, how the whole experience was with working with your team. And what you can do from there is use that positive feedback that you've got from that questionnaire and turn it into testimonials that you write. But the one crucial thing that you need to do after that is you need to get approval. No one likes when their words or their company name is put on the internet without their permission. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to be totally fine with it. But it's just best practice to ask before you do so, before you use anyone's words as a testimonial. And then last but not least, once you have all those steps completed, utilize all your digital channels to publish these testimonials. So add them to your website, publish them in attractive fashion on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, what have you. They're just great ways to showcase your credibility and also provide more options to link back to your site, link back to the service that you provide your client. Just those are some of the best practices for actually getting those testimonials. So let's look at case studies now. So as I mentioned before, some best practices, you really want to choose your best work. A case study should really encapsulate everything you do well and should showcase how it all comes together over the course of the product. You want to ensure that your project is specific to an industry. That will help in terms of keywords and just being specific to the problem that you're solving for specific people, so that you're not showing up for random people who aren't looking for the problem that you're solving. One thing you want to do is showcase your problem solving and include evidence. So include evidence that the solution you had to their problem or your product or service worked. Add testimonials and images. In our example, you can see that we've got a video testimonial actually from the Admiral's mascot, and that's just a promo video we did with them. But throughout, we've got other testimonials from people on the Admiral's team that we worked with. But it's always great to add some visual aids and images. So I'll show a quick example of that here. That's the example of the finished Admiral's site. And last but not least, tell a story. So the way we like to approach this is kind of 3 prongs. So first, start with the challenge. Showcase the challenge that the client was facing before coming to you and how that problem maybe has hindered them as a business and why it needs solving. Then showcase the process that you went through to solve this problem. So this kind of goes back to the problem solving, including the evidence process that you use to address the issue or how your product or service helped solve the problem. And last but not least, speak to the result. Showcase the final product of what the project finalized as. And that's kind of how you can implement a little bit of storytelling into your case studies, just to make it a bit more engaging for readers and to ensure that it really tells the story that you want to be telling. Moving on here. So let's take a guess, because now we're going to be looking at reviews. So what % of consumers do you think look at online reviews before making a purchase? All right, now you've got your guesses in your head. Let's take a look. So why reviews? 90% of consumers read reviews before visiting a business or making a purchase. And I thought that Nicole actually found that stat, and that is crazy to me. Yeah. I know Lori Hybe, our CEO, has always told the story about, it's a vacuum story about how when she would need a new vacuum, she first looked at online reviews. It's just another vote of confidence. When someone finds your product or service, they want to see that you're a reputable source, that you're legit, you're credible. And it's really a great way to continue to establish that credibility. So it really also helps Google rank your site higher just by deeming you as an authoritative source and trustworthy. So another stat that's interesting is that nearly 90% of consumers trust reviews as much as recommendations. And reviews are almost a recommendation in itself, but in this case, it comes from a source that they don't know. They don't know the person that they see the review from, which makes it a bit more reputable than just a family friend or a family member saying, you should use this company. They also want to see those claims be validated through reviews from others who have tried your product or service. And Google reviews are especially, an emphasis on especially, beneficial to small businesses, where the online reviews can actually make up a ton, up to 15% of their ranking on search engines. So that just goes back to how much that new update, the expertise, authoritative, and trustworthiness that established, that Nicole had mentioned, really just showcasing your authority, and those reviews help Google showcase or deem your site as credible. So be sure to ask clients for reviews at the end of projects, so you can continue to get those. And speaking of a bit of Google, I think we're going to move on to Google My Business here.
Yeah. So as long as you're making the effort to try and cultivate reviews with your clients, why not leverage the power of Google's own review site? So we're familiar with Google My Business. It's undergoing a shift in 2022. So it was a great way for local search queries for brick and mortar stores. And it was very focused on location. Now, the next iteration of Google My Business, which is Google Business Profile, will have that same function for small to medium-sized digital businesses. You'll get all of the impact of reviews without the confines of a local search query. So reviews and ratings are still going to be important to let Google know your level of authority, expertise, and trustworthiness. So start making it a practice, like Spencer said, of incorporating review requests into your client's offboarding process. Make it a part of your business routine, because Google rewards interaction, and when they're using their own tools, makes a significant difference.
Definitely.
So another way that you can boost your credibility is to leverage your social media to give your content reach far beyond just your website. So we're going to talk a little bit about social sharing and social influence. So what's the difference between these two tactics? Social sharing is when you put your content in front of others by way of social media and give them the opportunity to interact and disperse your content on their behalf with likes and shares, comments, and reposts. Social influence is defined as how individuals adapt their behavior or revise their beliefs as a result of social interactions with other people. So that happens when your content is brought to others' attention by way of a person or an organization that is held in high regard. So you're effectively, but ethically, co-opting the credibility of a respected industry leader or a subject matter expert. So let's talk about what that looks like in practice. So social sharing, when your target audience is already engaging with your content, this is where you give them an opportunity to amplify your voice. On social media, make sure your content includes links that drives traffic to your chosen destination, whether that's your website or an event registration page or a landing page for your product or service. When you're publishing content on your website on another discussion platform, like maybe Medium or Quora, make sure that you include social icons that make it easy for your audience to share your content on their behalf. But don't stop there. Once your audience engages with your content, that's the perfect time to start nurturing this relationship, responding to their comments, asking for their questions, letting your audience know that you appreciate their attention. And social influence, there's a lot of opportunities for you to engage with thought leaders or influential organizations within your industry. Create a relationship between your business and a thought leader by interviewing them and sharing their expertise and insight with your audience, or guest posting to their audience, a way to bring value to their people and create awareness of an audience who may not have otherwise known about your business, your office, and your services. Take it a step further and return the favor with an audience swap. Let them bring valuable insight to your audience. And that could be as simple as a share the mic or a social media handoff, or co-creating a content series that gets published to both of your audience, therefore doubling the reach of both of your content sources. But if you do nothing else after this webinar, just start making a habit of interacting and engaging with leaders in your space, whether they're individuals or organizations, by taking 15 minutes, like 3 or 4 times a week, to like, comment, share, and follow their content that your audience might find valuable.
Definitely. Yeah, so I think we've reached the end of our presentation here. So a quick summary. So just in terms of the customer journey, credibility needs to be established at every stage. You really want to be showcasing yourself as the trustworthy source that people can know, like, and trust before purchasing with you. As Nicole had gotten into, in order to build that credibility with Google, you need to showcase your experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. Establishing backlinks with credible sites make a massive difference when it comes to your domain authorities. as well as the impact of testimonials and case studies. So be sure to ask your clients for feedback at the conclusion of projects. In terms of reviews, I'm going to go on a tangent here, but just with how massive it is to small business, I had a meeting with a client yesterday, and they run a small restaurant in Milwaukee that's just getting off the ground. They're like, we have so much trouble competing or showing up on Google compared to all these more established restaurants. I'm just like, yeah. And I can only imagine there's so many restaurants. So my thought was, in order to get more reviews, because it has such a massive impact, why not ask for, if you're going to send an email receipt, send the email receipt and ask for a Google review. And if you show proof of a Google review, it's 10% off at your next visit to the restaurant, or so on and so forth, a free drink, something. But just a great way to encourage people to leave those reviews would just be providing some benefit to them. So that's just something to think about if you're having trouble encouraging people to leave you reviews at the end of the project. Also, utilize social sharing and social influence to boost your credibility. As Nicole mentioned, take those 15 minutes to connect with and share with influencers in your industry, and make sure you're adding those links to all your posts or articles or anything on your website. And yeah, that's how SEO is done. So a few announcements before we finish up here. So we're finishing up our best practice of SEO mini series on July 23rd. And we're going to look at the best practices of technical SEO. And I know that it's a scary term. A lot of people get a little nervous when they hear the word technical. We promise it's not difficult, and we'll make it straightforward and simple for anyone to work on their site's technical SEO to really experience those benefits and rank higher. Our next webinar series is going to be best practice of websites. So that's going to be anything from navigation to design, so on and so forth. So stay tuned for those details. That'll be coming starting in August. And next up, I want to talk a little bit about our strategic storytelling workshop coming up on July 15th. So a lot of businesses don't think about how they're telling their story, about how they're implementing storytelling into their messaging. And what I say is, it's really what differentiates you from the pack, whether you're looking to hire new employees or you're looking to generate new leads. Telling your story, showcasing your culture, showcasing just your company in an appealing way that differentiates yourself is really going to help you connect with more of those leads. As I mentioned, it could be anything from finding the right people for a manufacturer to work at your manufacturing company, or it could be just generating more contact form submissions. It really just allows you to not only build that credibility, but lead to conversion. So as I mentioned, this workshop is going to be on July 15th at 10 a.m. And the big focus of this workshop is going to be helping you develop those storytelling components that you're going to be able to implement your messaging strategy. So one's going to be a value proposition that really differentiates yourself, showcases what makes your business unique, and that really is able to connect and engage with your audience. Second is going to be a storyline to tell that unique value proposition, those components that you can use to express it across all digital channels, whether it be your website or social media. And last but not least, just endless elevator pitches that you can use to tell your story and drive new business. And as we say, facts tell, but stories at the end of the day, they really do sell. So if you're interested, visit keystoneclick.com/storytelling workshop for more information. And as always, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to either myself or Nicole. Nicole or I would be happy to help with any questions you have. But if anything comes up, feel free to reach out. Thank you guys so much.